Hey, book club besties. From Scrubs to Book Club, we're two burnt out healthcare workers who love to yap about books. I'm Katie.
And I'm Star, and welcome to Aimless Attention Podcast.
Today we are going to be talking about When the Moon Hatched by Sarah A. Parker. I am very excited to talk about this book. It is one of my favorite fantasy worlds I think I've ever read.
This one was hard for me. I kept going, what is happening? Rewind. I think if you're going to, I recommend if you read this book, you immersive read it if you're going to do it on Audible. Like, it's great, but you don't know what's happening.
Yeah, or do it as a reread like I did.
Okay, yeah.
So When the Moon Hatched, I think some spoilers for all of When the Moon Hatched. I think that if you're listening to this podcast, you probably already know we talk about all of the plot points as well as characters, everything like that. And any ideas we might have of what Ballad of Fallen Dragons will be as well, too. So one of the things about this book that actually I bought it many months before I ever read it because I kept picking it up. And at the very front is like 15 pages of a glossary of terms and explanations of different things.
Yeah.
And I kept going, oh my God, this is intimidating. And I just put it back down because I was like, there's no way I'm going to remember any of these terms.
Audible at the end goes, if you like this story, go download the PDF to see the, and I was like, I think I told your mom, I was like, it's got like a 20-page PDF. Like, what the hell is that? Like, yeah, no, but it's cool. Like when you see it, but yeah, it was way too much for Audible to like, you can't get nearly the same as if you like immersive read it, I think.
Yeah. And I think because there are so many terms you don't know. So what I ended up doing actually, because I tend to like just going into a story and figuring it out as I go. I just decided to skip the glossary. I just was like, you know what? I'm not going to look at the glossary.
Probably needed to because it's a lot.
I think for certain things like the Aurora cycles and those kinds of things, I did go back and like say, oh, this is how much time this is or whatever. But overall, I was like, I'm just going to learn as I go. And it's easier when you're reading it on page. I've heard the same thing about Alchemized, which is a book by Senlin Yu, is that when you're reading it, it's a lot easier because you can keep track of the terms because you're visually seeing them. Versus on Audible, it's much more difficult.
That's what I heard too. But I think if we do that one, I want to immersive read it because I'm excited. But
yeah,
I'm like, that's too many pages. My brain will be like, just looking at the book size, my brain will be like, no. Stop.
Yeah, it's true.
Like
it's a big book. So When the Moon Hatched, like I said, it's got the huge glossary in it. And the funny thing was, and I just wanted to tell the story because I thought it was funny how I ended up starting reading this is that I had started trying to read it and I was like, nope, this is too much. But one day my daughter was was really upset. And I used to not have any of these bookshelves. In my office, I used to have bookshelves out in my living room. So all of my books were on display up there. And my daughter was wanting me to read books, but she didn't want me to read any of her books to her. And I was looking at my books going, which of these books, granted, in all of these, there are portions that I could read to her. But I was like, which of these books has a portion in it that I could read to her? And I was like, you know what? I haven't actually read When the Moon Hatched. So I just read the prologue of When the Moon Hatched to her.
And then she passed out.
No, she was loving it. She was like so engaged. And she was like a year and a half at this point. She was stoked. She was like, this is amazing. And I was like, this is actually really good.
Yeah.
So the prologue is all about the creators. And the creators are basically the gods of this world that we're going to be in. And there's the creator that's in the Etherstone. There is Claude, who is the wind creator. There is Rain, who is water. And then there is Boulder, who is like the ground and rock. And then Igneos, which is the flame god. And so we learned that they created the world that they're in together and they formed it. And then they put I need to figure out what his name is. So Kalis is the god or the original creator that's in the Etherstone. And the Etherstone is worn on the brow of a female fae. They're all fae in this world. The folk are all fae. And each of the fae could be gifted with some sort of
This actually took
power.
me a minute to grasp that they were all fae. I was like, what? She's fae? Yeah.
Yeah. So there are Null Fae and they have a clip in their ear that identify them as Fae who do not talk to the creators. So that's where the Fae get their powers from, are the creators speaking to them. And the creators speak in a language that's specific to them. So, and they'll wear beads that will say which creators they listen to. So like a clear bead would be Claude or whatever is the air. And then like a red bead is Igneos for fire. Which is so cool. Like,
no, it was. I was
like
enjoying
amazing.
it, and it was really cool. But I was like, this is so confusing when you're not like. That's why I said I recommend if you like Audible to immersive read it because it was just too much to like. I don't know how many times I rewound.
And also what's cool about this is I audiobooked this on the reread, and I didn't do it as like an immersive read, but it was really cool I think I really understood the story better on the second time through, because I wasn't trying to relearn the terms or like understand what was happening. I could just like kind of immerse myself in the world again.
I could see that.
So it was really cool. And Sarah Parker is just fantastic at building this really cool world. The world's set up into 3 different sections. So there's the Fade, the Shade, and the Burn. And then we'll get to travel between all of them. And then we also learn about the different dragons that are in each section of this. The dragons have a really cool, unique thing that happens with them. So when they are about to die, they'll go up into the sky and they'll curl into themselves and become moons. And that's not just for moon plumes. So there's moon plumes, molten maws, and saber scythes.
Yeah, this was why it was confusing, because trying to remember every of the names, I was like, what? Hold on, what? Like, yeah.
But the basis of that is that they will curl into moons. So, and it's all of them. I thought, because at first I was like, oh, they're just the moon plumes will become moons, but it's actually all of the different moon dragons will become moons, unless something happens to them where they're injured or they die on the ground. And that's like a really sad thing for folk to see happen. Some of them will be bound to these dragons and fly them and all that kind of stuff. But this world's so cool.
Super cool. I enjoyed it.
So that's kind of our background of what this world is and some of the magic in it. But let's go ahead and meet Rave. Rave is one of my favorite FMCs of all time. She is hilarious. Rave is dressed all in red. She has a veil cloaking the bottom half of her face, and she is a member of the Fiora du Ath, which is a group of rebels essentially that are fighting against one of the Vaegor kings, who is stealing children and taking them for their abilities to speak to the creators and using them in his armies and in the court and all that kind of stuff. So not a good guy. But Rave is stalking a guy, and he is known to be a womanizer and also kills the women that he uses. And he likes to go after nulls, especially because they're powerless against him. Shocker. Yeah. Rave is showing up, and she's going to be a singer. And Rave has a beautiful voice. It's one thing that we get to see her do throughout, is that she will use singing as a crutch, and also something that people view as a beautiful part of who she is. And while she's going up the stairs, she also, one thing about this is that she'll run into different creatures and everything. There is no explanation about what these creatures are. Again, because we have the glossary that says they look like this or whatever.
Yes.
But it's literally, I ran into blah, blah, blah. And you're like, what is that?
But if you're on Audible, you don't know this until the end of the book that there's a PDF, and you're like, oh, well, that would have been helpful. Like, I don't know if I would have been like busting it out while I'm listening to it.
No.
Like, but I feel like it would have been helpful to like, because you're just like, okay.
Yeah, they're like, I ran
during
into
Audible,
this.
You're like, cool.
And it reached out whatever claw. And you're like, what claw is that? You know?
You're just like, cool.
But
you're like, moving on. Like,
if you're able to vibe read through it, you can just be like, cool, freaky creature, got
that's
it.
That's kind of how I did it. I was like feeling amazing. Okay, moving on. That's scary. Like, I think we've talked about this in other podcasts.
So true.
Some books I'm just like, oh, I felt very intrigued. Other books I'm like, oh my God, I'm scared. Yeah, like it's like you just have to vibe read it. You just have to be like, sure.
You're like, all right, got it. Scary thing. Moving on. And we also so we'll learn about one of those creatures that's gonna come up that's gonna be really important in a second. But she's trying to get this guy named Tariq, and she's going up the stairs, and she runs into this big hulking man who's got this like beard and all this kind of stuff, and he like stares at her, and he like tries to rip her veil off, and she's like, fuck you. No, I love her in the fact that she was like, fuck off, get away from me, you have a micro cock. Like, that's
literally some of the shit she said. I was like, yeah.
And she sees the guy, and she's like, there's something that makes me feel kind of pulled towards him, but I also like do not have any time for this, and I'm not interested in getting caught by another dude.
You know, could just be his scent is amazing.
Mm-hmm. She literally kept me at something. He smells so good, and she's like, I hate that he smells good. It pisses me off.
Right? You're just like,
and she goes and performs, and she meets this woman with her who plays the instrument next to her. I don't remember exactly what she played, but she's like super pregnant at the time, and she ends up going and luring Tariq out, and she's in the bathroom, and she's coming out, and that's when she sees him, and she's like, well, I guess I can cut his hand off now. Like, this is perfect. I'll just do it here. I'll just kill him now. And then that's when the guy comes back in and interrupts everything and helps her get out of it. And she's like, I had a plan.
Right.
Man.
Like, I don't need you to get in my way.
I need you to go away right now. And she ends up going up and she is like on the side of like a mountain type thing. And Tariq goes to pin her down, and then she takes
because he's
off.
like super rapey.
He's super rapey, yeah.
I read this and I was like, this is rapey. Like, he's a raper. Like, oh my God. That sounded crazy.
Mm-hmm.
He's a graper.
And he's a creeper. And so she takes her iron ring off. So it goes back and forth on different worlds, whether or not the authors will choose to use iron as something that will nullify powers or not. And in this world it is. So she takes off her iron ring, which allows her to hear the creators again. And she specifically hears Claude. And I love the description of Claude. I actually would love to hear When the Moon Hatched as a graphic audio, because you could just hear Claude like giggling and like rolling all around and everything and just shrieking. I think Claude's amazing. And she uses Claude's power. She speaks to Claude and she rips the air out of Tariq's lungs. And she ends up killing him, but she cuts his hands off first because
he's grapey.
And she puts it in her bag. And she ends up killing him, but she carves letters into his chest as well for like rapist, like child abuser, like all that kind of stuff.
So, side note, on a super off topic, like that was actually something I like thought about when I was like reading this. I was like, lots of women that have been like touched as like, that's like one of their like they want to like scar the person because they scarred them, but they want like an outward scar. But I loved it was his back that she wrote ass.
No, it was the front.
Oh,
for
some reason I thought it was his ass, like on the back, like
front, and then it just said ass, and it was like the last one's explanatory.
Yeah, I was like, but I was dying. I was like, it was like A S, and I was like, get it, girl, get it, because I don't think she actually says any of the words. She just like writes it. She's like R-A-P, and you're just like, oh
she
my
uses,
God.
like the first letter of all of the words. It's like R, C, and something else, and then just ass.
Yeah,
just at the end. You're like, all right, Rave. So
yeah, just like this was dying though. I was like, I gotta remember to tell Katie this is fucking hilarious.
Yeah, and then she ends up pushing him down, or the plan was originally she was going to shove him down the garbage chute, and the garbage chute all leads down to a velvet trog, and it's just this big big creature that eats trash, and like collects jewels and like things that get thrown to her. And she'll come back into the story later, but that's just
reminds
like,
me of Shiny. Like, I'm just like,
exactly.
My brain's like, the whole time I was like looking at it, I was like, yeah, well, that's pretty much what crabs do.
I mean,
they eat trash, and he's like collecting the jewels.
It totally is like the villain from Moana.
Somebody's gonna watch this and be like, Star equates everything back to
Disney.
To Disney. She's like, Moana.
Did we mention Moana?
It's not my fault, okay?
Like,
when your daughter was like showing me her room, I was like, Moana, and then Shiny.
We're gonna
see like
we'll add Star makes a Moana reference onto the bingo card along with Katie brings up Deep End.
My God,
we'll like
how many do I don't do that many? Do I? I think I have actually. Moana has definitely been like he's like.
Gotta be shiny.
Oh my God.
She's gonna throw it down the velvet trog chute, and then she's like, well shit, because this hooded man is coming up. She's like, oh, don't have time now. So she like shoves him off the side of the cliff, and he like gets impaled through the thing, and she's like, that'll work.
That'll work. That'll
She's
do, pig. That'll do. See, look at that actually
do.
is Disney. Shit, never mind. I was like, that's not Disney, but Disney bought out like
owns like everything.
It's not my fault.
So and Khan shows up. This is Khan Vagor, is the hooded man.
So like everything, the description of him, I'm like,
did you like his voice in the audiobook too?
I did. It helps to like have a great like. You're just like.
He was really good, and like the accent he had, I was like, yes, this is great. I'm okay with this. He comes up and is like, and he really is like seeking her out because he's trying to figure out, like, is this who I think this is? Because her scent also means a lot to him. We actually will get to see what his POV after their encounter as well. And he'll be talking to his niece, Kazari. And Kazari has the Ether Stone on. And she's talking about how she's given herself over to the creators, which is a vow of celibacy, essentially, is that she's only there. And then she said that she's been talking to Kalis in the stone and that she's falling in love with him. And he's like, that seems like not a good idea. The thing is, though, about this whole plot is that we get this like little bit of Kazari and then it's like not done again. Like I'm sure Ballad of Falling Dragons we're going to see a lot more
really
of.
hoping, because there's like a lot of weird stuff that happens and you're like, well, wait, hold on, more.
Yeah. And that interaction with, because we don't really see Kazari again until the end of this book. We'll see mentions of who Kazari is and stuff, but that's about it. They have their kind of interaction there, and then she goes home and she finishes her mission. And this was a big deal for her. She's like, I can't go home yet because there was a thing that she pushed for to make sure that they stopped this like supply wagon of children, basically, that was going to happen. And part of that was taking out Tariq and everything. And the Fjord Ath was doing that. Essie, who was her roommate and a person that she basically had found in the Fade and saved her. She was like living in the Undercity, which is like the slums of them. And she saved her and she lives with her now, makes sure she brings her supplies, all that kind of stuff. She works a lot with runes and like making like little crafty type things. Rave has this like a cap on her tooth that she uses to pop a knife out of like her boot or something like that. And so Essie makes that for her. And we'll see a little bit of kind of the contraptions that she's made and all that kind of stuff. But Rave gets an ingredient list from her and she says, I need you to go take this. And she'd actually received it as a parchment lark from her, but it got stained with blood from Tariq. And she was looking at it like, I can't see through the blood stain. And so she had gone to go search for the items for Essie. And one of them was like something of a moth. And like some sort of moth powder thing. Yeah. And she's like, if I don't catch it, then if I don't get it at the Undercity, then I have to go buy it. I have to go get a moth. I have to go catch a moth in the lid. And she was like, it was horrible the last time I had to go catch a moth. And just like little things like that are hilarious. But what we find out when she gets back to Essie is that it was actually Spangle shit, or Spangle poop, that was on the list that she needed to get to bind the diamond cap to her tooth. And she's like, we've been using Spangle shit to do that. She's like, it's fine. I just extract it out of the shit and then it's like cleaned. And she's like, no, I hate this. Right? This is horrible.
I don't care.
But while she's out collecting ingredients, she runs into Sareem, who is the higher up in the Fjord Ath. And she has this, all of the members have been kind of like blood sworn to her. She has a vial of their blood and she can use it basically like a voodoo doll. And she kind of like messes with Rave a bit when she's like, really, you're going to charge me? Because Rave got charged for the entire operation to take down this like child trafficking ring, essentially.
I know. I thought that was
like,
crazy.
This sucks.
Right?
Like, she's like, so I tried to do a good thing and this is what happens. She's like, yeah, basically. Oh, yeah. So then Sareem, while she's there, she reveals that a bounty hunter named Rex Zaros is in town and has been tasked to apprehend Rave by the crown because Tyroth Vager is pissed that this keeps happening. And
I picture him like super dark and brown and handsome with like a dark beard. I'm just like, ooh, swaying over this man. I'm like, ooh.
Yeah, so the King of the Fade is the one who is trying to get Rave back. And then there's also different Vagar kings that rule the Burn and the Shade as well. We are going to get some POV swaps throughout this book. So which is
confusing on Audible. You're like, what the fuck?
Audible's definitely confusing. In the book itself, I feel like I was able to keep track of it a little bit better. There were a few times because it was only like one narrator and it's not full dual POV until she's the other, which is also kind of strange, that it's difficult sometimes for me to remember if I like stopped in the middle of a chapter and started reading again. I was like, who is this?
You know, it's really bad. Like I was like, who's talking right now? And and why are they, what? Like,
if it wasn't Khan's chapter, then I was like, oh, why are you talking? That doesn't sound like Rave. And I was like, oh, it's Vaya. Got it. So, but one of the other things is that we'll get diary entries throughout that are from Elowyn Navan. And these are starting from a child up until I think 21 years old-ish, 22. And she is talking about how her brother Hadion is going to go to the mountains to get a moonplume egg. And so this is where we get the introduction on how people bond with dragons. And it differs separately for each different type, the Molten Maws and the Saber Slice as well.
Yeah.
But the main thing is that you have to go to a nest and you have to take the egg and then you have to basically sit on the egg until it hatches, right? And nurture that egg until it hatches and then hope that the dragon's going to bind with you. And you have to escape the mothers of these dragons as well. So Hadeon is going up to the mountains, and I'll just kind of talk through Eloin's like initial story, and then we'll kind of get back into what Rave's doing. But she goes and she follows Hadeon. So Hadeon is like, you need to stay at the hatching hutch because she had rode in the wagon without him knowing, and they get to the hatching hutch, which is halfway to where they're going to go to the grounds of where they're nesting. And Hadeon ends up getting injured during that time after he gets his egg, and she is protecting him from all of the weather and everything that's going on while he kind of cuddles that egg. And then also she ends up getting a mature moon plume which is Slatra, to bond with her in order to protect them throughout this. So she gets a moon plume as well as Hadeon. And Hadeon will go home and not be able to really do much with his legs. And he's really disappointed because he can't ride. He can't. And the moon plume has one like wonky wing that didn't grow properly because of how everything happened. And so over time, she's working to try to get that dragon to be strong enough to fly and also take Hadeon on a ride. That's kind of like her goal. Her parents are king and queen. Yeah. She's a princess. Her mother wears the ether stone and talks about how eventually she will have to wear the ether stone as well because it passes through the maternal line.
Yeah.
And all that kind of stuff. So this is our introduction to this person who's living in the shade, who is obviously a princess and now has a moon plume. And I don't know. I don't
know. This one killed me because when she talks about her mother, she talks about how heavy the crown is to wear. And I was just like, holy shit. Like,
yeah.
I didn't know if it was heavy because it was physically heavy or if it was heavy because she was a queen. Like she doesn't actually specifically say.
Well, it's heavy because the Kalis who lives in that stone physically drains her.
No, I got it. But I'm saying like it's that weird like when you first start reading it though, you're like,
yeah, we don't fully understand why that aether stone is so detrimental to the wearer, right?
Yeah. So she's like, I don't want to wear that. Like I remember just thinking like I wouldn't want to wear it either. Like, something's wrong.
When she comes back from bringing the ingredients, so she learns about Rexaros and everything, but Rave goes down to go to sleep into her because she's been up like 2 days straight, basically trying to do this and also hide before she came home and was seen making sure all of the elements of the mission were completed. So she finally comes home. She like closes the trap door to her little space that she sleeps in for her pallet. And she wakes up the next day, and she's also got this parchment lark, which I love the parchment larks. And we talked about this in Brimstone, was that I couldn't ever remember what the little parchment birds were called in Brimstone because all I wanted to do was call them parchment larks because I read this first, and it just seemed like the right thing.
I remember that, and I was thinking when I read those, I was like, oh, this is where she was talking about that.
I was like, this is what I couldn't remember. So Ni, it just said like, I need you or something like that inside of it. But that's just this bird that constantly, and because she hasn't, with the parchment larks, their mission isn't complete until they're like completely unfolded and like a response is sent back and all that kind of stuff. And so she's like kind of fallen in love with this little parchment lark, and it's like her little parchment lark and has like a little bent nose from how many times it's like run into things and all that kind of stuff. So she's kind of, taking it under her wing. She ends up waking up to Essie is on the couch and she's bleeding out, and she's like, what happened? And she looks over and Ni actually is the one that woke her up, and she finds out that Rexaros attacked Essie. And so she says, I don't want to be cold anymore, Rave. Please don't let me be cold. I don't want to go on the ground.
Is the bad guy.
Rexaros.
This is the one that I told you I kept fucking up their names in the middle of the. That's why I was like, when you looked at me like, why do you like this guy? Because I have the wrong guy in my head again. Damn it. No, because there's something. What's the other guy's name? Like Christo or something? No? Dude, I suck at names. Do not listen to Star's names.
There's Tariq, which was the first guy she killed. Okay. There's Rexaros, who's the bounty hunter.
Okay.
Then there's Tyroth Vagor, who's...
Okay, that's the one.
Okay.
But see, I be screwing them up. So the whole story, I was like screwing them up in my head, and I was like, why is he so hot? No, that's not the right one to be hot.
That's not the right one.
Even still, I told you, it's the feelings, right? It's the vibes.
It's the vibes.
Because I couldn't always get it straight. Their names are too like...
I do have to say, I love in the audio that Rex Zaros is a cowboy and he has a Southern accent. Like,
Yeah.
I just love that. He's so good in that way. And the narrators in this book are fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
The female narrator, especially, I want to give her a shout out because we talked about this when we read Chestnut Springs. She played Summer in Hopeless, or in Flawless, I mean. And she just does not fit Summer for me. But it's funny because I had actually listened to a little bit of The Moon Hatched, so I knew her as Rave, and she just fits Rave. Like the way that she talks is like the sarcastic bite and everything like that is so freaking good.
Yeah, because Summer's like the little polite, like,
Yeah.
she probably would have done better in winter.
Maybe. But yeah, I love her in this book. She's so fantastic in it. But she sees that Essie has been stabbed to death, and Essie says, I don't want to be cold anymore, Rave. Don't put me in the ground. And that's when Rave decides she has to set the apartment on fire because there's no way she's going to get Essie out of it. So she sets the little cave thing that had been warded off for them on fire, and she leaves. And she delves into the other at this point when she goes to go hunt Rex Zaros in the Undercity. The interesting thing about this, so Rave she consistently references this icy lake that when she has a bad thing she doesn't want to think about, she just goes down into her icy lake and she plops it down and lets it, freeze over again, and then she goes back up, and that's how she deals with hard feelings. She just ignores it, puts it in the icy lake. Underneath the icy lake is the other that lives inside of her, and I can't wait to talk about more of this, but she has this other being that takes over when she really is overwhelmed with anger primarily. So when she gets down there, she takes off her iron ring, and not only does she speak to Claude, she speaks to Boulder. And that's massive because Rex Zaros is like, that's different. We didn't even know you could do the Claude thing, and then now you're doing Boulder as well. And the other is so cool how they do this in the audiobook. It's also weird. But like
in the audiobook, it's weird because you don't understand what's happening.
Yeah,
You're like,
the guy is speaking.
Yeah.
So the male narrator narrates it.
Yeah.
And then the other will be the female narrator, and she'll like chime in as to like why she's doing things. And Rave goes completely ballistic when she's the other. She is going to kill everything in sight at this point. It ends up being a trap that Rex Zaros had set for her to come, obviously knowing that he killed Essie on purpose to draw her out. And the magic actually changes like her eye color and all this kind of stuff when she is the other. And they end into a clash. She actually bites Rex Zaros' finger off,
which I thought was kind of cool. I was like, this is kind of cool.
But she ends up being completely outnumbered, and they do end up capturing her. She passes out. She wakes up and she's imprisoned, and she's like, there's this like stringy thing stuck between my teeth. And
it's like his what is it, like your ligament or something?
Yeah, it's
like
his ligament. And she realizes that later, but she doesn't have memory when the other is doing something. She doesn't have memory what the other did, because it is basically a different being inside of
like
her.
Multiple personalities, but only one personality. Sorry.
And then she has this like flashback of when she used to be in a cell as well. And there was a girl named Fallon with her that had helped her, and Fallon ended up dying. So now she's got Essie and Fallon that are like in her mind right now. And she's like, icy lake, icy lake, icy lake. I'm not doing this right now. And she ends up getting an unexpected visitor who is dressed in a Reiki, I think, uniform. It's just all white, and they're like the healers and stuff. And he shows up, and it's the same guy. It's Con Vagor who shows up and is like talking to her. And she's being full Rave. She's like, fuck you, you asshole. Like, get away from me. And while she's imprisoned, he keeps coming back and stuff. And there's like this other little being, like little cute little creature that she talks to the whole time. And then she ends up going to trial. And in the trial, they were like, how do you plead, Rave? And she's like, I think you have a microcock. And they're like, and she's looking up, and she can see the king of the Fade is sitting up there. Of the burn. I mean, she's seeing the king of the burn because she figured out it's Con is sitting up there, and they're like, all in favor of death by drawn and quartering. And she's like, me? And like a bunch of people vote for it. And then they're like, okay. And then they're like, all in favor of being fed to the dragons. And then she watches and they're like, it's a tie. And then Con Vagor puts his hand up and she's like, fuck that guy. I didn't want to die by dragon fire. I wanted to just die and
She's
be
like,
done.
micro penis just voted me in.
And so he shows up and she's like, fuck you, man. I thought I should get to choose how I died if I'm gonna get killed like this. This is stupid. And he brings a healer in with her, and she's like, "What is the point of healing me?"
This one bothered me. I couldn't grasp this one. This one took me like 10 minutes to get. I was like, "Why is he healing her?"
Yeah.
And then I was like, "The fuck is wrong with him?" Yeah.
So she had been whipped by Rexaros.
Yes, but in the audible, like you're listening to him like heal her, and you're just not understanding like it at all. You're just like, and then like he's just. It's just weird though because they're conversating and then he's like healing her. We don't have time, and I'm like, you don't have time. Why are you healing her? What do you mean you don't have time?
Yeah.
Like the audible is just like, oh my god, what is happening?
Because he's basically holding her while she's getting healed by the healer.
Could you imagine though? Like, here, bite on this stick. Like, let me just like hold you down. I don't know. My brain was like,
they're having these like really like these connections, and she's like, what is going on?
Right?
Why am I into this guy? Right? He smells really good and I don't like that. Like, I love that Rave's constantly like, what the fuck? What is going on? And one of my I think I've told you before,
she's just
one
an
of my
angry person.
she's super angry. One of my favorite Rave quotes later on is just like, in her head, she's like, that fucking Rexaros, the fuck.
My favorite is this. I want a shirt that says micro penis.
Micro cock.
I don't know why it just fucking cracks me up every time she says it. I'm just like, why is she so violent?
Con even
and then I'm
says
like,
that.
I kind of think I get it. Like
Con
I'm a little
says
violent.
that to Vea later, who's his sister, and she's like, well, how do you know it's her? And he's like, I knew it was her the second she called the head council had a micro cock or whatever. Like, I just knew it was Rave because this is the shit she says. She's just like very bold and like,
I mean.
But
something I would say.
But it's cool to see. So we'll get these back and forth, and it's like a spoiler alert, but we don't really. It's all of this is spoilers, so we can talk about it. But Elowyn is Rave, and so Elowyn, when we're watching her diary entries, where we're going through her Hadeon getting hurt, the moon plume situation, and then we see she actually nurses the moon plume back to health enough that Hadeon gets to ride on the moon plume, and then Hadeon and the rest of her family are murdered by poison.
Yes, but you don't know any of this.
And
you're just like, why do we keep going back in this diary entry?
Yeah.
And holy shit. And like the whole time you're just like, holy shit, holy shit. I kind of had figured it out probably by like the second diary entry that it was most likely her that was like, but my thought process while it was happening was like, it doesn't really say, like, is it like, because with these fantasy books, you never know. Sometimes you can get like a whole nother POV and you have no idea that it was like an ancestor.
Yeah.
She just happens to have that book and she memorized it. Like you never know. So I was like.
And so when Hadeon died, his moon plume had snatched him up and curled up into the sky as a moon. And Rave mentions that there is a moon she can see. It's before Essie even dies, that there's a moon in the sky that she loves to look at that has a wonky wing. And she's like, I don't know why, I'm just drawn to it. And that's kind of our first little snippet of like, this is Hadeon's. And when it's mentioned in the diary that the dragon has a wonky wing, you're like, oh, it's Hadeon's dragon. But you don't necessarily realize that it's Elowyn and Rave at the same time.
You don't.
And when Con is visiting her in the cell, he has dragon flame that he keeps, and he holds it up to her, and he can see she's got like a scar on her forehead. And she noticed in her mind, if he looks closer, she'll see she has them all over her body where she was patched back together. And she actually scuttles away from him and is like, no, I don't want you to put that away. And she like takes it and throws it. And that's one of her rules when she's getting healed by him is, no, you can't have dragon flame. She gets healed, and then she ends up going to the Colosseum to get executed. And all the molten moths are flying around to kill her. And Con ends up showing up with Raigun, which is one of the largest saber scythes that's ever existed. And Raigun snatches her up in his maw and flies away. So the idea was to make it seem like Raigun killed her, obviously, so that nobody goes and seeks her out because.
Okay, I didn't catch that. I mean, I didn't understand why he okay.
So I
for some reason thought he caught her in his claw and it didn't make sense to me.
No,
but now you're saying I just misunderstood what it was that Because it sounded like claw, but you're calling it something else.
It was his maw, his mouth.
His maw.
Yes.
See, because I was like, what the fuck? If you think claw, you don't understand. You're like, why did she get clawed up? Like, I'm sorry. I'm like, oh my God, Katie, you just told me something I didn't understand.
It's also confusing too because his teeth are referred to as sabers as well. So like that could have been part of it.
Yeah, but like I think of like a saber-tooth tiger.
Right.
So like my brain
she's
like
hanging onto a saber the whole time and she's getting like tossed around in his mouth and she talks about the well of fire that's below in his throat.
I must have somehow just wasn't grasping it because I was like, his claw, like what the fuck? Yeah. So like I thought maybe she was hanging onto his finger. Like I was not grasping it. Now that you've said it, I'm like, that makes way more sense. So I've been in the video the whole time. None of us noticed it. We're doing great.
Nope. For those of you watching on YouTube, yes, I did just notice that there was a chair sitting in the frame the entire time. I was like, why is part of Star covered up?
It's probably a good thing.
We'll just put like random objects it'll look like Mike Wazowski your face. Random times.
Oh my God. Disney again. Hey, we're going to get like a Disney card. How many Disney movies can we fit into this podcast?
It'll start becoming like a thing that we do where we just have to insert something.
My mom will be watching and be like, stamp.
So Rave gets saved by Khan, and that's why Khan had voted for the dragon execution, is because he knew he could take Rhaegon in there and save her that way. Rhaegon obviously recognizes Rave for who she is, and they end up going into like the forest, and she gets taken to his mother's home. And she's the entire time, because they were riding and he was like, you need to find a way to sit down or I'm just going to let you fall off the dragon. Like, you need to figure out what you're going to do. Because she's like, I'm not going to sit here like this, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, he's like, you can ride in Rhaegon's mouth if you want, but I think you'd probably prefer the saddle. And she's like, fine, like, whatever. And she's like just thinking about all the ways she's going to kill Khan. She's like, there's so many ways I could kill this guy. He's such an ass. Like all the Vaegars are horrible, blah, blah, blah. And so they get to his mother's house and she's like, this is a really nice dwelling. And he's like, come inside. And she's like, I don't think I should stay here. And he's like, why? She's like, this is your mother's home. And he's like, and she's like, I don't have anything. He's like, oh, that's okay. Then tell me your name, because she's been going by Prisoner 73 because that's what she wrote when she signed her name at the prison. And so he's been calling her that out of respect for the fact that he obviously can't call her by her real name or she'll run away from him. And then she says, Rave. And he pauses and he's like, just Rave. And she's like, he hears Firelark. She hears Firelark in her head. And she's like, yeah, just Rave. And he's like, huh, because Elowen's middle name is Rave.
Yeah, I thought that was cute. I was like, oh. Yeah. Like, but that's like chapters in.
Yeah. And we'll get that from Khan when he's talking to Bea later, is like, yeah, I knew it was her because not only she's going by her middle name. She's going by her middle name. And like just the way she is, like there's not another female out there who acts like this. Like that's my Ray. That's my Elowen over there. And they are just like, their chemistry is so off the charts, and she's so confused about why the hell this male smells so good, why she's so into him, why she talks to him so easily. She's like, I hate this. He like makes her dinner. They go out and they like pick a bunch of root vegetables, and he's just like tossing the dirty vegetables on her. And she's like, I just took a bath. You made me take a bath in a river, and now I'm dirtier than I was before. And he's like, I promise you're not dirtier than you were before. Just come inside. And so he makes them dinner. They have all this stuff. He helps her with a couple things. And then she's like, I'm going to go to bed. And he's like, okay, but I'm going to sleep on the couch because there's only one way out of here. And I'm going to know if you try to escape. And she's like, okay. So then she eventually is sitting there for a while and she's like, well, I can't kill him in his mom's home, but I think I'm just going to go ahead and kill him in his mom's home. So she comes downstairs intending to kill him, and she climbs up on top of him while he's sleeping. And then they start making out and they're about to have sex.
I think I skipped this because I was like, oh, another fucking sex scene. Because it's never not a sex scene. But I do think, because I only do like by 10 seconds, I do think I heard him say something like, no, I'm not going to do this, or something like, you don't know who you are, or something. Because
you told me, you were like, I skipped that sex scene. I'm like, it's not a sex scene.
Okay, look at, she crawls on top of him and they start making out. It's like hard to like, look at, Just so when we're writing books, we do not always need sex in every book.
But this book uses sex appropriately for their relationship.
This is true. But
That's what I want to say.
All of the books are always like sex.
That's why I was like, no, this is not a book you can skip. Like, there's too much shit going on in this book for you to skip scenes in it.
I know. I think I was telling a coworker, she was like, I want plot. And I was like, yeah. And then I was like, and I fucked it up on the moon hatches because I realized it is plot. But I just thought she got on top of him. So I'm not going to lie. She crawls on top of him. And they start making out, and I was like, oh, and then his large cock comes inside of her. I don't know. Like, that was what I started thinking, and I was just like, I don't want to do this today. And then you were like, no. And I was like, oh. But I do think I did hear him say something like, I'm not going to do this. Because doesn't he say, like, you don't even know your name or something like that?
No. So what happened was she's like grinding on him.
Yeah.
And he's looking
because she was like, I need more pressure. That's what I was like, Skip.
Yeah. Because she's like, okay, there's clearly something here.
Yeah.
I need to just fuck him out of my system and I can leave. So that's like her thought process. But she says, stop looking at me like I mean something to you. And he said, I can't do that.
Me. Like, I'm sorry. I saw something. I sent it to somebody earlier. I don't know if I sent it to you, but it literally said, I'm mentally a whore, but I'm physically a nun. Like, that's literally me. Like, stop looking at me like I mean something. I told you.
But she says that, and obviously, because he's like, oh my God, I love her so much, and she's finally back. Yeah. Is kind of his thought.
He's like, and she's like, how dare you look at me?
So she says that, and he says, I can't do that. I can't have sex with you and act like you don't matter to me. And that's what cuts it off. And then she's like,
I'd be like, here, let me just cover your face.
Yeah, she goes back upstairs. And that's when she ends up getting out of the window and climbing down the trellis. But before that, when they were talking, before they went to bed, he said he admits that he was the one who killed his father, who was in charge of all of the different kingdoms, basically. And when he killed her, or he killed him, and she's like, well, why did you do that? And he said, because he caused harm to the only girl that he's ever loved, which was Elwyn. And so then she escapes out of the window, and because he told her, like, if you try to run, I will track you down again. Like, it's not going to just not happen.
I ain't gonna lie. I was like, find me, baby. I don't want to have sex, and I'm like, yes, track me down like a scent dog. Hound dog, a scent dog. What the fuck?
A scent dog.
I was like, well, I said scent dog, and I was like, is it a hound dog? Like, what the fuck's a scent dog?
So she runs out, and I love this outline that I downloaded because it says pissed and sexually frustrated. Rave escapes.
She was super, because she was like, I just need more pressure. That's when I was like, I'm out. Like,
yeah. There's a storm brewing, and she ends up falling into a river, and she is just like, I'm going to ride this out. I'm going to ride the river down, and it'll take me where I need to go.
Except for that large waterfall. Like, everything inside me was like, yeah, that sounds great. Wait, there's always a waterfall. It's always bad juju.
And she ends up kind of getting washed up to shore. She's hanging on to a branch, and these two guys come out the next morning, and they're like talking to her in a different language. She's like, I don't know what you're saying, man. I'm just trying to get the fuck out of here and go fuck up Rexaros, okay? And they're like, what? And then they both like freak out, and they're looking behind and pointing, and she's just like, what? And then she turns around, and there's like this like it's like a clear figure moving along the rock. She's like, that doesn't seem good. And then out comes the fate herder. And the fate herder is literally this gigantic cat, basically, who will herd you towards your fate. And she tries to like make a run for it and get away from it, and it's just like pointing her back, and she's like, okay. So she's like, I guess I'm supposed to follow you guys. And they're like, okay. And then they start calling her Kolu, Kolu. And she's like, what the hell are they saying? So she gets taken back to the Jokul clan. And that's where they call her Kolu, which is the person who's supposed to come and bond with one of the whoever wins the trial.
Yeah.
Ends up getting to bind with her. And they make the offspring that will tether the moons to the sky permanently. So
this one really fucked me up when I was listening to this. I was like, what the fuck is happening? Mm-hmm. Okay. Could you imagine you just get to like sit there and watch a male, and he's like, I will beat down him for you. Like, I just think, Tarzan, hey, we're just going to fucking go for it today. Tarzan, rah! I gorilla man. Mm-hmm. They're just like a bunch of savages. Okay. Savages.
Oh no.
I just can't tonight. I'm like, let's do it. Every Disney movie star can think of. How many can we get in? What is that? 5? We're at 5?
We're doing pretty good here. But so they end up, they're like, there's women crowd around her and they're like, we need to change you into the outfit or whatever.
You need to get clean for your man
like,
that's going to come and rape you.
She's like, okay. So they like wash her and they put her in this like whole outfit and they try to give her, so they two of them start fighting. One of them gets killed and he like cuts off his head and stuff and then he gives her his Malmar or whatever, which is his like totem.
Yeah.
And she's like looking at it like,
don't take it.
And then they're like, you now will go have babies with him. And she's like,
he will now take your body for what it is.
And this is the heartbreaking thing is that Rave's like, I'm never having kids. That's not happening. Rave's like, no.
Even if you weren't going to have kids, it's still like, I'm sorry. You didn't even propose to me. You just brought me ahead and was like, let's go make babies.
Yeah, she's like, no, thank you. I will fight for my own life. So then she like goes into the fight and the guy's like beating they actually were she probably could have won, good. But he uses, he has a venomous snake he throws at her and it bites her.
Yeah, but like nobody sees it or something, right? Because isn't that like...
sees it.
Like bad, like you're not supposed to do that?
Yeah, it's totally cheating. So it bites her breast and now the venom's going through her and like the world's shifting around her.
Yeah.
And then who shows up? Raigan and Khan. So the other thing that's kind of cool about the Jokul clan is that they live in a dragon skeleton.
Yeah.
Basically, it was a moon that fell from the sky that they kind of made their little house in. This is also the clan that Khan was raised up into, kind of harden himself and become a skilled warrior, and that he was sent there by his father to go there. So he has been raised up to be, was it Ulu, which was the like high king of it. It was Ulu and Una or something like that.
Yeah.
And so
But you were only an Ulu if you like
you won
killed the person, right? Like you had to
kill the strongest warrior.
Yeah.
And so he was technically Khan was the strongest warrior, but he gave up his position to be number 2.
Yes.
In order to allow the new Ulu to do it. So, but with Rave going in, so he goes and fights the guy, kills him, and then offers his Malmar to Rave. And he's like, you just need to take it so I can get you out of here. That's like, I'm not binding you to anything.
Yeah.
Please.
Does she believe him? No.
Never.
I'm sorry. A very traumatized woman is definitely going to be like, no, how dare you?
That's when Rave gets flown to the burn, which is where
somebody sees the bite mark though. The chick sees the bite mark.
So she gets the antidote and everything like that.
There's another girl there that's because like people finally realized that dude was a bastard and he was cheating the whole time.
Yeah, so
it was just a big part of my brain was like, wait, you have to remember.
No, yeah, that's important. She gets healed for that, and then she gets taken to his palace in the burn. And while they're flying, she has a memory of a moon plume trying to fly across the burn. So there is something really important about the different dragons and where they live, because there's the burn, the shade, and the fade. And then the fade are where the moon plumes are. They live in a very cold environment. They can maybe last a little bit of time in the shade where it's like kind of neutral, but they're not going to last in the burn. They'll die. Same with the saber scythe going the opposite way. They're not going to last in the cold. But the molten maws are actually, because they live in the fade, they kind of live in a neutral temperature, so they can handle the sways back and forth. And they actually will use molten maws as like taxi services across both all of the kingdoms, which is kind of cool.
Is it though? I feel like it's abuse. I feel like it's abuse just taking the dragons.
They said they were the more calm ones that get used for this. And so, but she has that vision. And so we remember from Elowen's journals that her whole family had been killed. When she turned 18, she was supposed to be betrothed to a king. So there were all these rules for princesses that they weren't supposed to speak, and they weren't supposed to show like their face. They were supposed to be veiled until they were bound to a male when they turned 18. Her family didn't follow those rules because they're like, that's ridiculous old tradition. We're not going to like force you to do that. So Rave's been a free princess for all of her life, basically. She's 18 now, and now Tyroth Vagar is who she's supposed to marry. And Tyroth she gets taken to the burn to get like plopped over there in the meantime while everything's getting set up, and Tyroth takes over the shade. But while she's getting flown out there, Slatra follows behind, and Slatra's wings are just burning to shreds and everything like that. And Khan is obviously at the Burn Palace, and he ends up like nursing Slaughter to health and everything and being like a kind person to Rave. And that's how Elowen at the time. And that's how they end up forming their bond, and they start like having a relationship together before she actually gets married to Tyroth.
Okay.
So
telling you the audiobook was not like, you're explaining it way better. I'm like, oh, that makes sense. Okay. Cause like, even though I knew that, I was like, how did they? I don't understand. Okay.
Mm-hmm. So that's where their relationship kind of forms. They will spend some time in his mother's home, and then also they build that house in the forest together, in the jungle together. That we'll see in a little bit here, but that's kind of where I'll leave Elowen's story for now while we go back to Rave. So she lands in the Burn, and Vea meets Khan, and that's what usually happens. Khan always says that when he lands, Vea always runs out, and Vea gives him shit for whatever. It's his younger sister, so what else would we expect? And Rave's actually really surprised that everyone loves Khan here. Like, they're all super respectful of him. They love him as a ruler, because all she's heard is horrible things about him, and that he's this evil guy who like feeds people. Hopefully you can't hear my daughter playing out there. But feeds like his subjects to his cyber scythe and all this kind of stuff. So there's a lot of lore around Khan being an asshole, horrible guy, and actually Khan's a really great guy overall. Yeah. At some point there's a storm that happens, and there's a bunch of back and forth that happens with Rave and Khan and her being in the Burn and all this kind of stuff. And overall, Khan kind of gives her a lot of freedom while they're there to kind of explore and like hang out with his soldiers and stuff. And like nobody really stops her if she wants to go out in the market or do anything like that. He's like, I'm not going to force you to reconcile with who you are quite yet.
Don't worry, it'll happen.
But at one point, there's a huge storm, and at one point Rave had said like Rain is horrible to listen to. She's the
it's
creator.
So funny because most
like,
people love rain. They're like, oh, did you hear the rain falling on the roof?
Well, she's okay with rain, but the creator Rain is like weepy, and she cries when she has power there. So when it rains, obviously, so anytime there's like flame or anything like that, Igneos is going to be louder and stuff. And Khan has Igneos and Boulder that he's able to hear. And his father, one of the reasons he sent him to the Jakul clan is because he can only hear 2 of the creators, and he views that as a weakness instead of hearing 3 or more. 3 or more seems to be like wow, you love a lot. Elowen, though, Khan has mentioned it before that she could hear all of the creators, but the only ones that he's witnessed her wield are Claude and Boulder. So when it's pouring down rain, that's when it's overwhelming for her to hear it. And she ends up running out and starts crying. And Khan actually sings a song to her.
Which I was like, oh, yeah, no. I was like, this is when they fall in love.
Mm-hmm. Khan and Rave are one of my favorite couples, I have to say.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I didn't feel that way when I first read it. I was like, Khan's fine, Rave's fine. Like, I really like Rave, but they weren't my favorite.
Rave is just the right amount of spicy, but I didn't like fall in love with them the way like, but I also was appreciative that there wasn't like so many sex scenes that it like made you like
I really liked
cringe.
I guess what I really liked about Khan was that he recognized that she not only didn't remember who she was, but she wasn't willing to figure out that either. He could recognize she was actively suppressing it herself.
Yeah.
And so while he gets frustrated with her, he gives her the space and is accepting, like, I played a part in her kind of having all of these bad things happen to her, and I wasn't able to save her in the first place. So he feels some of that responsibility to also protect her in this moment where she's not willing to be herself either. So I don't know. I think Khan's a really great guy overall.
He's a little too Prince Charming for me.
Yeah. But Khan ends up she's like, how did you like know that song? And he's like, I used to know a girl who would cry when it rained. And
this is when I was like, oh my God. I think even I wanted to cry. I was like, how dare you?
Yeah.
Because I still hadn't really figured it out yet. I'm not going to lie. I was still like, what the fuck?
When Rave was in the cell and he was coming to visit her, he was saying that he had traded moon shards to the other creature. And I guess she was like, oh, so you're in the business of collecting moon shards or whatever. And he's like, yeah, kind of. So he ends up taking her back to present day, taking her to his quarters in his palace. And he shows her like a a secret door that leads down into like a little cave, and it's like really cold in the cave and everything. And there is Slatra, her moon plume, and the most of the shards have been put back together. So he's been scouring the world for the shards of Slatra. And what had happened was there was kind of going back to Ellen. We'll just finish her story out real quick so we kind of talk about all the details of it. But with her having to go marry Tyroth, she was pregnant with Khan's baby. And the Khan's father knew it. And he sent her off to Tyroth, and he's like, you better go figure out how to make your husband believe that's your kid.
I fucking died. I was like, what?
Mm-hmm. So in order to protect Khan and everything, she goes, marries Tyroth, and then pretends that it's his baby. And then while she's pregnant, she's laying on the bed, and she's writing in her journal about how much she can barely see Hadion's moon anymore. And she is not going to survive this pregnancy with the Ether Stone as well. The Ether Stone is completely dragging all of her possible strength out. And she gives birth and dies. And Slatra picks her up and takes her into the sky, and they solidify as a moon together. And Slatra basically breathes life into her in the sky. And Khan assumed Elwyn was dead because that moon solidified, and then it eventually fell 100 years later, and it crashed to the ground, and Elwyn
This is one of the other things I didn't understand from the Audible was all of the timelines, because they'd see these things, and I was like, what? Hold on. How? Where? There was a lot of like, I think there was multiple times where I had to go back and be like, what? Mm-hmm. This was what timeline?
Yeah. So that's why Khan had collected all most of the moon shards and was putting Slatra back together for her, but it was more of a tribute to her because he never thought he'd see Elwyn again because Elwyn was gone. But when he was able to see all of the like jagged marks on her was because she was pieced back together when she fell from the sky. And now this other that lives inside of her is Slatra.
Yeah, but it took me until you told me when I had finished the book and you were like, I didn't get it. I was like, I don't understand like how she's pieced back together. Like, what's the other? Like,
it's not until the second. So it's not like confirmed.
No, I know.
But in the second time that we see the other, which is when she's going to fight Rexaros at the end, you get more of an evidence of that this is Slatra.
You do, but right? I didn't really like piece it together the same way you did. I was like,
yeah. It's pretty intense, and I just think that's such cool lore. Like, I don't know.
I'm super excited for the next book.
I'm wanting to know if Ballad of Falling Dragons, or even the book after that, I don't know how many there's going to be, are going to give us more information about how she was able to survive and everything, because it seems like Slatra and Elwyn became one person, obviously, but it's like sharing her body when she fed life into her. So I don't know. It's going to be very interesting.
It'd be interesting to see. Yeah, I'm excited.
But Rave basically sees Slatra's body and is like, I'm not dealing with this. Icy Lake, bye. And she runs out and is like, fuck off, Khan. I can't do this.
But she just needs to somebody needs to warm her up or something. Jeez Louise.
Yeah, so she ends up running into the jungle, and she comes across the house that she and Khan shared decades ago. And Vea watches that happen, and she decides, I'm going to go help Rave. I need to find her diary, because she was the one. She's like, I know where it is, but I have to get inside there.
I feel like that wasn't the greatest idea.
No, I don't know how much her diary would help her, because she does not want to know who she is.
I know. That's why I was like, I mean, I thought it was interesting, but I was like,
Yeah, Vea's like, I'm going to go find it. I wasn't sure
if Vea needed it for herself, though. Like, I felt very much like.
I think Vea needed to know what happened in the last bit after she left Khan. Is like what was going on in her life that made it like this, because we've talked about Kazari a bit as their niece, but they don't know yet that Rave was pregnant. And so Kazari is actually Khan's child, and nobody knows that, not even Khan. Like, Khan in the beginning of this book is referring to as his niece, because he genuinely thinks it's his niece, not his daughter. So, she goes off and she's going to go to the Shade, because she's like, there's an important piece of jewelry I need to get that I disposed of that I have to go find before I can go back and go into his castle. So to Tyroth's castle. And so she goes off to do that. Khan invites Rave to the Great Flirt, which is like a big festival thing that happens, and there's like this astral phenomenon where the dragons will mate. So it's like a whole thing. And Khan has to have like a shield over the town because they'll like bang into the literally bang into the
I wasn't gonna say it. I was like, be good, be good. You already talked about micro cocks. Like, be good.
It's all appropriate here. So he invites her, and she is sitting in the house that she had built with Khan. And she's like, why? I don't like that this feels so much like home. I don't like that this feels familiar to me. And then she's like, Khan obviously loved me, and I obviously loved him at some point. And before she goes off to go, finish her hunt for Rexaro, she's like, I am going to let myself have one night where I'm allowed to feel love and be in that type of situation. So she ends up going with Khan to the flirt. They play a game of cards, and she says like, oh, if you win, then we'll spend this night together or whatever. I can't remember what she exactly said. And then he said, well, what if you win? And she said, I win, then we get to have one night together where one aurora phase or whatever. Where
this is what I was saying about the whole, like, I didn't understand the timelines.
Yeah, it was like an aurora phase where we pretend that everything's fine and we have this together. And after that, you get to grant me one wish. And he's like, okay. And she's like, I want my memory. And then so she ends up winning, and he's like, well, what's your one wish? And she's like, I want my memory to be wiped.
It's not how life works. It's not how it works.
My mind weft.
And I can't say that I wouldn't want that either. Like, it's just not how that works.
The mind wefts can go into people's minds. They can wipe people's memories. I think they can also, or there's truth sayers as well who can like see when people are telling the truth or not. There's lots of cool different little things
like,
that are thrown
I know,
in.
but like, if you forget your history, then how do you know who you are?
Mm-hmm.
Not that I wouldn't mind some of my history to be like,
yeah,
but don't you wipe everything? I want to know now. I'm like, what kind of mind wipe is it? Do you just get to touch certain spots and be like clear?
Yeah, I think that's
what it is. You get to keep like, oh, I love Khan. Keep that.
Yeah, they flip through different parts of her memories. And so they go back to that house in the jungle, and they spend a bunch of time together reconnecting, rekindling the love that they have.
Dude, I'm telling you.
They fuck a bunch.
Yeah. This was like beep, 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 beep.
But
I think I told you, like, if there was conversation, I didn't get it. There's like one book we read that when they were like fucking and talking, and I'm like, why? How are you, like, you're supposed to be fucking, like, be in the moment.
It's because it's all plot stuff. And
you can't be plotting while you're having sex. Just have sex, pull his big cock out. He's fey. You know that shit's hanging to his knees.
Well, while they're together, she's having more flashbacks to when she was with the Scavenger King, and the pits that she would fight in and stuff, and how he would burn her and call her his fire lark and all this kind of stuff.
It's just fucking terrible, dude.
Yeah. And Rexaros ends up showing up in the burn. And he's like, hey, Khan, so why is it that your Molten Maw showed up? Or your Saber Size showed up? That's strange. And she's in the jungle when this happens, and she finds out, and he's like, please let me handle this, and I will let you have the killing blow, but let me handle this. He's like, if you kill this person who's an emissary from my brother, it's going to be a whole fucking thing. And I'm not, he's like, I'm not ready for war yet. No. I know it's coming. I know it's probably going to happen, but my armies are not ready for war yet. And I cannot afford to go into war right now because of this. Like, he's like, think of the other people. So he ends up confiscating Lyri, who is a moon plume that, to Rexaro's credit, he ended up putting a mask on so that she wouldn't be blinded like Slatra had been when she had flown across the burn. But moon plumes don't fly across to the burn. That's just not what's supposed to happen. She's badly burned. He's like being abusive to her, and he's like, I don't stand for animal cruelty here. Like, we're not doing this. Also, as a side note, most of the two other kingdoms use dragon blood diamonds or whatever, that the gems, they mine dragon's blood, and that's what they use for their currency throughout. Whereas in Khan's kingdom, they use gold because they're not willing to mine it from the dragons. And also, once the dragon's blood like mines are emptied, then people end up going and killing dragons for the blood. So he's like, that's not what we're doing here.
No, but that other guy was like a fucking,
But yeah, Rexaros is treating it horribly. Not only is it because he's just being bad to a dragon. It's because it's a moon plume. And he's like, no, this reminds me too much of Elwyn's moon plume when it showed up.
Yeah, but he's a sick bastard.
Yeah. And Rek ends up leaving the palace, and he's actually not in search for Rave, but he's searching for Princess Kizari, who has been missing. So we had known when he met up with Kizari in the first section of this book was that she has a tendency to slip out from under her father's thumb and go try to do things on her own or whatever else. And Khan is always like, my brother's going to be pissed. You need to go back home. But he ends up allowing Rave to follow him, and they end up taking out Rexaros finally. So Rave goes into the other.
Yeah.
Again.
Which is fucking cool.
It's so good. I love when she's the other. It's crazy. But that's how we really kind of learned that that's Slatra hanging out in there. And she kills off Rexaros. And then the funny thing about this book, though, is that we don't end on Rave or Khan's POVs. We actually end, first of all, we go to Vea's POV, and she's been walking around the shade, and she ends up going down to talk to the Velvet Trog. And she has to get I think it's a bracelet or something like that you can use in order to look, or it's a pin. Or I think it's a bracelet with a pin on it, whatever it is, that she can wear to shapeshift into somebody else.
Yeah.
And she uses that she like makes a deal with the Trog and everything, and then she leaves. And she wears that. She ends up accidentally choosing her brother's mistress, who she ends up looking
right
like.
Because then she goes, oh, that's who this person's name is.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because I was like, what did she change into? But now I remember her walking through going, oh yeah, I gotta remember people's names.
It's her brother's pregnant mistress, first of all.
Yeah, but she doesn't know that. She
doesn't know it when she picks her.
Yeah.
And then she goes up there and she's like, well, shit, now I have to definitely get this girl out of here. Like, there's no way I can just leave her here.
I remember this now. I was like, what did she change into?
But she goes in and she finds Elwyn's old bed, and she is looking. She's like, well, where would if I was looking at Hadion's moon, and that was the one thing I was trying to see at all times, how could I have laid on this bed and be able to read? Because she knew that Elwyn was basically bedbound by the time she was at the end of her pregnancy. So she's like, where would I have to lay down in order to see it? And she reaches down and she finds the diary, and she reads the end chapters, which are her talking about her being pregnant and it being Khan's child. And so that's like a huge reveal for Vea, is that Kizari is actually Khan's. And then we cut to Kizari, who is in the hands of the Scavenger King, and it's actually kind of the Scavenger King's POV, but she's stuck in a cage, and he's talking about how she's gonna be his new Firelark, and that she's gonna use him against his brothers, because the Scavenger King is actually a half brother to the other Vagor brothers.
Isn't that sick?
Mm-hmm. And he wants what's rightfully his, which is his claim to the burn specifically. So there's so much to this freaking book.
Yeah, well, towards the end, I was like, holy shit, what the fuck? Like, there was many times where I was like, but I would, like, again, I think I would have liked this better as an immersive read, because there were so many things that kept happening, and the names kept fucking me up.
Yeah.
Because there was like twice where I thought she was with where she was with Khan, but she was with Rhaegar or whatever, and I was like, what the fuck is happening? Like, I was so confused.
Because not only do they all have very fantasy names. They're not like...
Which I appreciate, but I also, like, multiple times had misthought who was with who.
Yeah.
Like, when she turns into the other and she, like, kills him, I was like, why'd she kill Khan? I was so screwed up on, like, some of the people's names, because I was like, yeah, he's hot. Yeah. Are you going to bang him? And then I was like, wait, no, who? Why is she killing him? Like, yeah.
No, there's so much.
But I'm a little disappointed. I would actually like, before the next one comes out, I might have to reread this one just so I get like.
It's so like I've only read this book 2 times, but each time, like, overall, the base of the story is actually fairly simple.
Yeah.
Like, but because of how immersive the world is and how so expansive the magic
you're trying to get
is,
all that
kind of stuff, like, there's got to be so much more to it, especially because Kizari still has the Ether Stone on. That's the only reason. So the main thing that we didn't talk about in the Ether Stone is the only way to take it off is if you do die. So Rave did die in childbirth, and when Slatra took her up into the sky, then that was put onto Kizari's brow when she was old enough. So, or when she was a baby, it was put on, and they said that they would have to put they used iron for her to not cry as much because she was hearing all of the creators and everything, which is just insane. So, but she has the Ether Stone still, and she's in love with Kalis. So I'm sure there's going to be way more with Kalis in the next book. The Scavenger King's hanging out. Oh, it's just so much. Vea hasn't returned yet. Khan has no idea that Kazari is his kid. Like, I can't. I'm so excited for Ballad to come out.
I know, but like I said, before it comes out, I might have to like do a quick reread on this because I'm going to have to like...
The thing is,
because the names are just confusing as shit, and I'm gonna be like, "Who's who?" And like, I'm gonna be like sitting there listening to the second one, being like,
yeah." And this podcast we're actually filming before it comes out, but by the time this goes up, Ballad's already been out for about a month ish.
Oh, so, is that how we're doing it?
Yeah, because it comes out May 19th. So yeah, it comes out the same day as Fever Dream.
Damn, no wonder why you were like, screw this shit. Okay.
Well, that's why I was like, let's just film it so that it's like done. Because I was like, then we could just I could listen to the podcast and know like what happened again. But
she's like, I'll just cheat the system.
I'll just cheat the system. But no, I'm so excited. I actually was wondering if you could listen to one or multiple of the creators, which one do you think you would want to listen to?
Shit, I don't know. I almost feel like it would be very overwhelming, like almost just like too many voices in your head because your own voice is loud enough.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know if I would get annoyed. I probably get annoyed with it, but Claude sounds really fun.
It does. I'm not going to lie. That was my thought, but then I was like, I would get annoyed because it would be overwhelming because you would just
screeching and giggling all the time. And then Rain with her weeping.
That one definitely not.
I'm actually really interested to know about Kalis. Like, I really, really
want to know more.
I want to know more about Kalis because Kazari fell in love with him. So there's got to be something more to Kalis, especially because all of the other creators decided he was too dangerous to not be kept in a stone. So I just want to know more about Kalis, I think.
Yeah, Rain would get on my nerves, so.
Yeah, I don't think I could do Rain.
Sorry, I'm not a huge like weeper. I would be really irritated. I'd be like, how dare you?
Igneo seems pretty chill.
True. I don't know. I want to know more about like why is Rain weeping? Like what happened? Like who died? Like
I want more.
Did you lose a child? Like what's like I need to know more before I like choose because I think like and then are you like if you're Cloud like do you have like some kind of like are you just something wrong with you? Like, do you have like, are you just special? Like, you're just like, everything's fucking funny. Like, what trauma is that?
I don't know.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of trauma behind these.
Well, I want to know what makes a creator speak to like, how do the creators pick who they're going to speak to as well? Like
how many fucked up things is in your brain that they're like,
maybe,
hey.
or like, why do they, what makes them, especially because most of them are children when they first start speaking to them. So it's like, what about this child that they looked at said, yes, that's who I'm going to speak with and give my power to.
No, not even down. I want none. I'll be like schizophrenia.
Yeah. Anyways, that is, what would you rate When the Moon Pouched?
I don't actually think I rated this on Goodreads. I think I forgot.
I think you just said red and I was like, oh, she didn't rate it.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure, like, it doesn't happen all the time, but I was, like, trying to update my Goodreads really quickly. I think, like, 4 books got, like, because my friend was like, your Goodreads is, like, you're, like, months behind. And I'm like, I'm trying. I don't honestly know. Now that I understand more, I might have to go rate it a 5. Because, like, there was some things where I was confused. I mean, even, like, I was, like... Oh, and then I think on the audio, I don't know if it happens on this one, but on the audio, I'm pretty sure that this one, was it this one that had, at the end of the book, it had all the trigger warnings? I'm pretty sure it was this one.
Yeah, it did.
But it was at the end. I was like,
it's like trigger warnings for this book, and I was like,
I think I looked at your mom, and I was like, what the fuck is this?
It did have trigger warnings at the end on the audiobook. I think right at the beginning of this, but I heard that because I was waiting for it to go to the credits or like whatever. But it was like trigger warnings for When the Moon Pouched.
Yes.
I'm like, wouldn't this be beneficial at the beginning?
Yes.
What
but
an odd place
now
to put
that
this.
now that you've broken down a couple of things that I was not aware, like that I understood while I was reading the book, but you've made it like more like I definitely think a 5 because I really did enjoy this book. I enjoyed it a lot. There's many times I was like, oh my god, I like this story. Oh my god, this lore's so cool. What is happening? Mm-hmm. Wait, no, this is cool. What is happening? Like there was too many times where I was like,
well, and while
I didn't ever want to turn it off, but I didn't understand. I was like,
hold on. Think because you've talked about how there's like a lot of really explicit sex scenes that we've been reading. I mean, they're still explicit, but they're not nearly as explicit as a lot of these are as other fantasy books or even the romances we've read. So even with them being explicit scenes, they're not quite so like pull you out of the story. Now we're fucking type things.
It didn't, but I just am getting so like, I don't know. I did. I was talking to a coworker about it. I was like, I just want plot.
Yeah.
Just want a story
And
that we don't need sex to make the story.
What I like about the time that Khan and Ray finally do have sex together is that he is using that time to remind her that she's allowed to be loved and that they deserve to be with each other.
Yeah.
And she should remember who she is. And he actually convinces her not to wipe her memories during that time frame. So I think while, yes, it can be frustrating that there's so much sex in these books, I think this is a perfect example of using sex in a way that forwards the plot and makes the story,
but I don't,
their relationship move
I don't
forward.
talk during sex. I'm sorry. I'm very much like, just get it there. Like, hurry up.
Yeah.
No.
I think there's plenty of people that do talk during sex.
That's
so
why I think it bothers me. I'm like,
the problem too, though, I think if you don't talk during sex with books, is that it's just straight smut without any plot development. And if you do want,
which is why I can like skip through it faster. If you don't fucking talk, I can skip and I don't lose anything.
But I think
if you're talking, then I lose shit because stars over there like 10%, 10, okay, 10, 10, 10. Okay, cool. 30 seconds later, here we go back to the story.
Yeah.
If it was in the book, I would hardcore just be like flip.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. There were like, I am interested when we go to Silver Flames, how much I'm just gonna be like skip. Because Silver Flames has a few of those where I'm just like, is this necessary in here?
Yeah.
But anyways, that was our coverage of When the Moon Hatched. I hope you enjoyed it. We will be covering Ballad of Falling Dragons.
I am excited, but I am going to reread this.
Yeah.
Whether this is a first time read or not.
Yeah. If you're watching this on YouTube, I'm going to throw up a slide so you can see where you can follow us on social media, and we will see you in the next one.